Hello my soccer universe, matchday 6 of the Champions League more or less had it all. We had some stinkers in there, we had some surprise wins, and we had some true classic games in there as well. Especially the two away wins by Real Madrid and Barcelona were the games that really fed this matchday and gave it some great emotions, I would argue. We also had some trends continuing and breaking. We'll talk about those in the tops and flops for matchday 6. To me, the biggest loser of the entire Champions League season has to be the two Red Bull teams. Both of them, again, losing more or less at the same time. And in case of Leipzig, they're already out of the Champions League, having 0 points. Yes, they were kind of in the game against Villa, but Villa were the better team. Salzburg, how they got that win at Feyenoord is a little bit beyond me, but that keeps them still just about alive. But another rather poor performance against a PSG team that is anything but world class in this Champions League, but they were miles better than Salzburg. Talking about flows, I have to mention Inter just because with the first goal conceded, they also lose their first goal. Inter still very much one of the favorites to win this Champions League, so it's not too much. But the way they were playing at Leverkusen, I have to say, really was disappointing. Just trying to keep it tight, play the Italian way. I think Inzaghi did drop the ball here, and it doesn't do that often. Inter can do definitely better. And then the other big flop, of course, has to be Manchester City. They are in such a funk. They go to Juventus, a Juventus team that is really in bad form. They only play at draws, maybe they're solid in defense or whatever. Losing to that Juve team and conceding 2 goals. This is something that Juve don't even manage on a normal day these days in Serie A. It's just staggering. But on the flip side, all the other English teams actually were really good. I mean, Liverpool already qualified for the top 8. Villa, big win at Leipzig, meaning they have a good chance to qualify, maybe even top 8. And of course, Arsenal also are getting on a roll, really underlining how good of a team they can be against a pretty good Monaco side. Then there's of course the two Spanish giants who got vital wins for their progression. I mean, Real Madrid is still sitting in the unseeded spots. However, that was a big win at Atalanta, although later on if Retegui scores that open net, we will talk about another crisis at Real Madrid. However, their stars showed up. I mean, the goal scorers were Mbappe, who had to come off then injured, Vinny Jr. and Bellingham. And in that form, yeah, Real Madrid just have to squeak through, and I think then they will be dangerous. On the flip side, Barcelona, yes, Dortmund is easy to score on, but that game was just fun. It was maybe not the most high-class football that you will ever see, but that game was really just fun to watch. And the last high point have to be the unfancied French side. Yes, unfancied French side. Brest, get another win. Absolutely crazy stuff. And Lille had their hands full with Sturm Graz, although they were cruising at one point. But they also get the win. And these two sides have a great shot at finishing top 8. Lastly, I'm wearing Feyenoord. I do need to mention they finally get a home win. And most importantly, for me at least, Gernot Trauner gets his first Champions League goal. That made me feel very proud. Former last captain and Linz native doing really, really well. So those were the highlights. Let's dig in. Let's review everything that was happening on Tuesday and Wednesday. The early Champions League games on Tuesday were not much to talk home about. Liverpool scored the only goal, a Salah penalty in the 63rd minute to give them their 6th straight win at Girona, but they also had the majority of the chances in that game. The other game between Dinamo and Celtic was a 0-0 draw that we better should talk less about. However, we can talk a lot about Atalanta facing Real Madrid. Real Madrid getting the crucial 3rd win this season with a 3-2 away win, but that was never straightforward. I was quite impressed by Kylian Mbappe, the way he took his goal in the 10th minute. However, he had to come off in the 36th. Atalanta and get the equalizer through a brilliant De Ketelaere penalty. In a first half that was rather even. Early in the second half, Real Madrid strike twice in the 56th and 59th. First, the ball goes into Vinny Jr.'s path, who then just clinically converts. And a little bit later, Vinny Jr. also assists Bellingham, who makes it 3-1 for Real Madrid. Usually, this would set Atalanta back, but then Atalanta had a few chances to get back. They convert one of these through Lookman in the 65th. It didn't look all that great there because that was in his corner, I would say. And then Atalanta were pressing for the equalizer with the biggest chance, falling to Retegui in stoppage time, where from a few yards out, he takes the ball out there over the bar when it was an empty net. there. In a meeting of two national champions, is Leverkusen went into Milan not only the first conceded goal but also the first loss of this Champions League season. It was an overall deserved win because Leverkusen was doing way more for the game. Inter mostly hanging back, but it seems like Inter will see this one out with a 0-0 draw, and it's very late on when Mukiele, after a little bit of a goalmouth scramble, yanks it into the net. And Brest cannot only beat Austrian teams, they also get a win against PSV through a Le Cardinal goal in the 43rd minute. I have a hard time saying it was a deserved win, however it was a remarkable win because PSV mostly failed to convert their chances. They had more of the game, were trying to push, but Brest hang on and looking really good now to qualify for the next stage. Heck, they might even go top 8. And it's quite puzzling to see Sporting so much on the losing side. Ever since Amorim left, Sporting have only suffered defeat after defeat after defeat. And this time they lose 2-1 at Bruges after having a 3rd-minute lead through Katamo. However, Quaresma then with an own goal gets the equalizer for Club Bruges. And Club Bruges in the second half were the more active team, and it's a Nielsen goal in the 84th minute in a far the longest game on Tuesday because there was a major stoppage time in the first half. The Red Bull teams remain the biggest disappointments of this Champions League phase. Both of them losing, both of them at home, both of them conceding 3 goals. At least Leipzig were in the game and had a chance for a point. However, Villa were largely the better team. Villa took already the lead in the 3rd minute through McGinn. However, a miscommunication in the defense allowed Openda to equalize just before the half. Then Jon Duran came on and scored a brilliant goal in the 52nd minute, lobbing Gulashi, who was just a little bit out of the goal, similar as he did against Bayern. But Leipzig had also a nice equalizer when Openda crosses in and Baumgartner volleys it into the far corner. But then Villa again came pushing for the winner. They deserved the winner, however the winner itself was a little bit lucky with a deflected Ross Barkley shot late in the game. On the other side, Salzburg never really was in the game against PSG. PSG created many chances. They convert finally in the 30th minute when an Hakimi shot was then tapped in by Ramos from a short distance. In the second half, Nuno Mensch and Doué make it a resounding and fully deserved scoreline for the Parisians. And in an away game in Germany, Bayern get a 5-1 win over Schachter. The game was played in Gelsenkirchen, so there are plenty of Bayern fans there, which I found a little bit odd. Schachter though took the lead early on through Kevin in the 5th minute, but then Conny Leimer and Müller just before the half turned the game around for Bayern. In the second half it was all Bayern. Ulisse scoring 2 goals, one via the penalty, and then the last one, the 5th one, a brilliant run seemingly through half of the Schachter defense and then even dumbing the goalie to score a brilliant goal. And of course, Musiala had also to be on the score sheet. There were some weird scenes where he seemed not happy with the referee call as well, but in the end, Bayern get another big win and are well set onto the next round. Antoine Griezmann again was the star for Atletico Madrid in the 3-1 win over Slovan. Maybe 2 little goals. You would have expected a bit more from Atletico Madrid. On the other side, like against Milan, Slovan put in a solid performance and got their goal from a Strelec penalty. Over in Lille, Sturm were so close of grabbing a point from a good French side who are riding high in the Champions League table, and no one would have given them a chance when 2 minutes in stoppage time of the first half, Mikkel Bakker made it 2-0 for Lille. However, Kittishvili just a couple of minutes later pulls one back, and right after that Mika Birr strikes and it's 2-2, but then Sturm have to hang on and the onslaught by Lille was just too much. In the end, it's a great shot by Haraldsen that gets Lille the 3 points. Milan beat Cervena Zvezda 2-1 at home, their 4th win in the Champions League in a row, but it was again not a very convincing performance in an overall rather odd jersey matchup. Milan wearing these, Cervena Zvezda in white. I guess the contrast works better in this case. First half, I would argue that Milan, without overstretching themselves, I mean the game had a lot of room for improvement, created more chances, especially Rafael Leao had early on a really nice one, but Cervena Zvezda also hit the crossbar, but overall Milan were better, take the lead through Leao in the 42nd minute. Well taken goal. Before that though, there were 2 substitutions for Milan injury related within 2 minutes, so you had to use up 2 substitution windows already. The first one was Loftus-Cheek had to come off, was replaced by Chukwueze, and then Morata had to come off as well, replaced by Tammy Abraham. Yeah, not great stuff. Second half, Milan were a little bit more passive and there was a whole lot more energy about Cervena Zvezda, who came out and actually put Milan a bit on the back foot, and it was more a game that Milan was trying to hit on the counter-attack, but never really playing out the chances quite quite nicely. And so Radonjic, who had just come on, gets an equalizer, slightest of deflection by Malik Jaw, I would argue. And then Milan was in a bind. It was kind of a Vabank game, because if you push forward for the winner, and it was a crucial win if you want to get top 8, you are always opening yourselves up to these dangerous Serbians. However, in the end, it is Tammy Abraham who gets the goal after Kamara header hits the crossbar, so that at least was level. Tammy Abraham wills it more or less over the line. And afterwards, Fonseca went in on his players, kind of saying, you know, this is not how we wanted to play. We needed to have more energy. But I guess Pulisic out, injuries and so on. Not a good Milan at this moment. Bukayo Saka was the big hero in the 3-0 win over Monaco. He gives Arsenal deserved halftime lead. However, in the second half, Monaco really came and put Arsenal a bit on the back foot. But when Bukayo Saka makes his second goal, basically settles the game. And then Havertz, although I think this might have been a Tilo Kehrer own goal, makes it a 3-0 scoreline. Over in Lisbon, Bologna held tight and managed a 0-0 draw against Benfica. The only time that Benfica could beat the defense of the Italians was in the 3rd minute through Pavlidis' goal. However, it was called off for an offside in the build-up. I would argue that among the teams that will not qualify for the playoffs, Bologna are probably the most solid one. It's just their goal scoring lets them down. But the true spectacle came in Dortmund. If this would have been a World Cup quarterfinal, semi-final, we would be talking for ages about a game like this. Forget the first half. There was not too much happening. However, in the second half, an Olmo pass sets Rafinha on the way. He gives Barca the lead in the 53rd minute. However, Dortmund almost immediately strike back. Kubarsi steps onto Guirassy, I think. And it's a penalty, a similar penalty that Barca conceded already on the weekend against Betis. And while Emre Can put the ball on the spot, it's Guirassy who then converts. But then late on, Barca again bring on Ferran Torres, Fermin Lopez, and also De Jong for Rafinha. So he kind of changes the front line in a way and actually worked this time around. Fermin Lopez's shot is parried and Ferran Torres just dusts it off. It's 2-1 Barca in the 75th minute. However, again, it is Dortmund strike back rather quickly, with Guirassy getting the equalizer in the 78th. However, Barca this time was not to be denied. Lamine Yamal with a great run finds Ferran Torres, who gets his second goal of the night, and it's a winner for Barca in an absolutely spectacular, wonderful game. Despite having good away performances, Feyenoord had not won at home. Well, they put that one aside, beating Sparta Prague, the team where they got coach Priske from, 4-2 at home, and they settled the game early. Trauner already in the 8th minute gives them the lead, then Peshawar with a great shot doubles it, and then Haj Musa in the 30th adds a third. That more or less settled the game. Yes, Rahmani pulls one back just before the halftime. There was then the chance for Sparta to get a little bit more, but when Sebastian Jimenez in the 63rd scored the 4th for Feyenoord, everyone knew who will be the winner. Still, Belen gets one more for Sparta. In a truly high-stakes game between Juve and Manchester City, Juventus actually beat the Citizens. And City has an awful record against Juventus. The only time that they beat him was back in the 60s or 70s. Really, really weird stuff. The game had a lot of room of improvement. It was reflective of the bad state that both teams are in, and the go-ahead goal similarly. I mean, it was willed over the line by Vlahovic, where Ederson then gets it out, but the ball was fully over the line, and we had goal line technology to confirm that. And then City was in a bind, came out, tried, but did not really produce much. I think Di Gregorio made one save on Haaland. In the end, it's then a gutty scissor kick. He could not be held in defense. That is parried by Ederson. However, on the rebound, the ball goes to Vea, who then finds McKennie, who yanks it into the net. 2-0 Juve. City are sitting now on the bubble. And the young boys may have taken a 6-minute lead at Stuttgart and had a very emotional celebration for their teammate whose family has been in serious trouble on a home visit in the DRC, but it was not meant to be. Stiller in the 25th minute gives Stuttgart already an equalizer in the second half. It was all Stuttgart, completely overwhelming young boys. Mio gets the equalizer. I think the ball by Frieda was probably in the out before that. Fürich then a 3-1, and the Wagnermann and Ketel add 2 more. The standings make a little bit for strange reading. I mean, the top 4, okay, Liverpool, Barcelona, Arsenal and Leverkusen, that is not unexpected. But it's the next 4 with the exception of Inter. Yes, Inter should also be there. But Villa, Brest and Lille ahead of the season, you would not have thought about that. But I'm definitely looking at the next 4, the teams that are on 12 points, because I think with a run, they all will eye a spot in the top 8. Dortmund, Bayern, Atletico and Milan Milan may be the one that is in least good form, however they probably have the easiest schedule. However, Dortmund is also not so bad. With 2 wins, these 2 teams will be hoping that they're in the top 8, but I guess 1 or 2 will miss out. But then we're getting to the real interesting part. Let's go on the second page. 20 and 22, Real Madrid and Manchester City. Really? Is that true? And then on spot 25, still PSG. Yes, they're only 1 point behind and probably it is in them. I mean, they are facing City, which is more or less a knockout tie already, but that is really, really crazy. Stuttgart also hanging on the bubble. They had some great performances, had some really weak performances, and goal difference is definitely not in their favor. And on the very bottom, the bottom 3, Leipzig, Slovan and Young Boys already out. And so the question is, who will make it and who will not make it? I mean, in the top 8, Milan just about is squeaking in ahead of Dortmund. I don't quite believe it, but hey, we will see. Bayern also, Villa is scheduled to stay in there. And we see a whole bunch of teams. I mean, Lille and Brest more or less securely through. Juve, Atalanta and Real Madrid will probably make it into the seeded teams. You would expect them to win their last couple of games. How about City? They stay in 22nd place. They will be an unseeded team, a team that no one will want to face, honestly. PSG are missing out because Stuttgart, but they have a head-to-head against Stuttgart, and that will be also a true clash to watch. As for the overall chances, this is the first time that Manchester City are not top. It's not Liverpool and Arsenal, it's very much a Premier League table. Real Madrid, because of the bad standing, also relatively low. Real Madrid have no chances on top 8 anymore. Inter, though, do have, but they, with the loss at Leverkusen, have fallen a little bit as well. The next round happens in mid-late January, 21st and 22nd of January. You shouldn't play football at the time, especially in these areas where I live. I guess if you do it in England, that's alright. And global warming there is probably helping to make it a little bit more proper. If I look at the matches, I think the more interesting matches might happen on Tuesday, but I find them all rather non-consequential. I mean, Monaco against Aston Villa sounds like an interesting one, as does Atletico Madrid against Leverkusen, Benfica, Barcelona is a classic, and then we have also Liverpool against Lille. Maybe one of the unfancy ties will deliver us more action. On Wednesday, maybe not as many classic ties, but we have one huge one, and that is PSG against Manchester City. This is last chance saloon for both of these teams, and both of these teams are not good. PSG cannot really finish their chances, and Manchester City is just Manchester City. However, when this is played, a whole lot of things might have changed. Milan have to play Girona at home. You would expect a win, but the way Milan have been going, I don't anymore. I also find it interesting that Leipzig take on Sporting, both teams on bad losing runs. Leipzig in the Champions League, Sporting ever since Amorim left. So, will this be a draw? So, that was it from me for Champions League match day 6. We are going now on a slight winter break. As I said, we are back in January with the Champions League. I'm actually getting used to the whole thing. I think there was a lot of jeopardy in these matches, and I think the jeopardy will increase for some choice matchups. That much is for certain. In any case, let me know what you thought about the Champions League this week, and of course going forward, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more. Talk to you soon about more things in my soccer universe. Bye! Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, here are some videos and playlists that you may enjoy too. Also, please consider subscribing to my channel and hit the little bell icon so you get notified whenever something happens in my soccer universe. And with that, have a wonderful day. Bye!